I'm now going to show you another technique, also using a clink hammer, a technique which has become extremely popular and also, I should add, extremely successful on our rivers, and that is a clink hammer nymph combination. Also popular in the States now, and they call it a clink and a dink. In this situation, you've got a double whammy or two bites at the cherry, because suspended from this either by a New Zealand dropper or this on a dropper itself with a snood of mono coming off, I will be fishing a nymph combination. You can also fish a wet fly combination if you want, but there'll only be one more fly added to it, not a team of flies. So a fish may take your clink hammer, or your clink hammer may suddenly get yanked under and you know something's taking your nymph. Very, very deadly method. And you don't have to take your clink hammer off if you find yourself in a situation where you suddenly want to change. Just add on a piece of mono, and I'm going to add it on using a 4-turn blood knot, and I'm using exactly the same tippet diameter that this is tied onto, a piece of 2.6 Bayer. So take off, and here you're sort of judging the depth that you want to fish it. You can fish it a foot off the end of the clink hammer, or 3 or 4 or 5 foot. I usually fish it for our Dales rivers about 2.5 feet. So off with your piece of mono, bring the snood length up like that underneath, and then pass that over once, twice, three times, 4 times. Now then, pass your mono with the clink already on through that V, let it drop through. And then bring this way once, twice, 3 times. That was 3 times, I dropped it. 4 times. And now take the end and pass the end back through there. Get hold of it. Till they come like that. Give it a bit of tetleys and draw it up. Draw it up nice and smooth. There's your dropper nicely snooded on. Trim off the waist with your nippers. So there you are, that's on about a 4-inch leg. There's your extending bit to take your nymph. You can always do some adjusting if you want. I might just take just a drop off this, just a little bit of mono. The nymph I'm going to use today, about the only fly we've seen coming off the water in any number, and that hasn't been great, is the yellow maize. So I'm going to fish a heptagenid nymph. So there's me heptagenid, and I'll just nail on through the eye, and then the usual knot I use, the 4-turn half blood. 1, 2, 3, 4. I use my last 2 fingers to grip it when it take it off my passing hand. Then through that loop, trap with my finger, draw it up a bit, give it some moisture, and snatch it home. Right, and so trim off the waist, and we're ready to go. So there's me Nymph, there's me Dink if you like, if you're an American, and there's me Klink. I think it's Dink for dinky fly. So that's going to come drifting down on the surface. It'll come down in that direction, floating down. My nymph's going to be dangling somewhere behind it, all coming down. Fish takes my nymph, Klink hammer gets pulled under. The methods, some people don't like the method. They think that it's too near float fishing. Well, I'll leave you to make your own mind up about that. The one thing about it, I prefer to fish with a fly as my indicator than stick a lump of balsa wood or polystyrene foam. You know, these bobbers they have that some people fish with, like little rounded orange and yellow sausages floating on the surface. I can't deal with that. But I can live with a fly floating down river. That's okay in my book. There is one other method also works just as well, and that is when you, instead of tying your Klink hammer on a dropper, you leave your Klink hammer on the end of your dry fly leader just as you've been fishing it, and then you actually take a length of mono, like I've done, say 2.5 to 3 feet, and actually tie it right there on the bend of the hook, and then tie a nymph on. And that style is known as New Zealand dropper. Works well, people have been using it for years. In my view, there can be a slight problem. Only when you're using Klink hammers as an indicator. If you want to use a fly that's tied on the round, no problem. But this fly fishes one way, and that is abdomen down, post wing up. And what I find sometimes when I'm fishing it New Zealand style is that it upsets the aerodynamics and the landing attitude of the Klink hammer. And sometimes, instead of your Klink floating like that, it'll float on its side. And that's the only thing I have against New Zealand style. So I prefer, if I'm going to fish it on a dropper, I prefer, as an indicator, I prefer it actually on a dropper. And you'll see how nice it sits in the water. So there you are, you're all ready to go now. So hook that in your keep. Just tidy your line up. I'm going to take you down to a fast shoot downstream of here. It's perfect for Klink and Dink.